Hi, I'm Jane Morris, burnout author, speaker, and coach. Today, the 13th of November, is World Kindness Day, and I have a very special episode for you. My topic is including yourself in the kindness that you extend to others. Now, it may be apparent already from my introduction that I gave you a very small one, that being a burnout author, speaker, and coach, burnout is often the hot topic for me and front of mind. And there is absolutely a link between kindness and burnout. In my work over the last 15 years, I've supported people in recovering from burnout, often very busy professionals who have had a lot of occupational burnout in the mix, but also individuals who have had life curveballs thrown at them and have burned out, not necessarily due to their workload, but for other factors as well. So I'm going to be diving into that today. So the connection between burnout and kindness may be surprising to you, because not often do we think of kindness as being something that can support us in preventing burnout or even recovering from burnout. We all know that burnout equals overwhelm, exhaustion, and disconnect. So what if kindness could actually help us to guard against burnout? Let's find out how that might be possible. Burnout is becoming an increasingly common issue, and that's because burnout is something now that, due to societal conditioning, due to pressures, due to extended working hours, we're often finding ourselves in situations where tiredness, fatigue, and using things like caffeine to help stimulate us and alcohol at the end of the day to help us chill out has all been normalized. And what's happening is people are rushing around, feeling like they need to be everything to everyone, busy all of the time, and we've lost connection to ourselves, connection to why we're even doing the running around in the first place. And all of that, it triggers our fight or flight response and means that we're in a state of stress quite more often than not. And when stress builds up in our system, it can lead to this severe depletion of the adrenal glands and of our immune system, which means then we're more susceptible to picking up illnesses. We're more, our bodies are more likely to be trying to give us indications that we need to slow down. And so we'll develop symptoms that are really our body whispering to us, hey, take a rest, take a break, pace yourself. And that could be any number of symptoms, from itchy scalp to IBS to hyperhidrosis to heart palpitations to forgetfulness to headaches. All sorts of things can start to show up for us cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally, physically, in our way of our relationships, our environment. And no two people experience burnout in the same way. It's not just about being tired. It's when we tip so far out of balance that we're no longer able to function properly in a multiple arenas of our life. Why does it happen? Well, it happens mainly due to a combination of factors. One being chronic stress, as I've mentioned, so too many work or personal obligations often. The other is the social conditioning, so that feeling pressured to have to overextend and overcommit in order to maybe prove yourselves or meet the expectations of the workplace or your peers, or feeling like you always need to be on. Many of us will have learnt things when we were children about rest not being best for us. I remember in my primary school having a mantra that good, better, best. You will never rest until your good is better and your better best. And I learned that as a little child. Kept repeating it to myself in my head because we said it every day in assembly. And without realizing it, I had ingrained that belief that you will never rest because I had work to do. There were things I needed to do to better my best. So we can have various different messages given to us, and those are then solidified by our experiences in latter life. And then that can lead to a feeling that we always need to be on, we always need to be doing. And of course, if we're overextending ourselves without sufficient support, there's an emotional demand of ourselves. We can feel torn because we really want to help the person in front of us, or we feel like we need to, we should, or we must, and then we forget about ourselves in the equation. There was some recent research conducted by YouGov, and it looked into the other areas that contribute to stress. and some of the sort of manifestations of that. So poor sleep can be a contributing factor, but can also be a symptom of stress. Many people suffer from insomnia when they're burning out. Financial uncertainty, the state of the world at the moment, the sort of external fear about when a price is going to fluctuate again to such an extent that maybe I can't afford to fill up my car or buy food. Simple basic provisions often are at the back of people's minds. Am I going to have enough? Then there's the income, physical, what you're earning, and not in relation to what's happening in the bigger picture, but just your own physical circumstances. And then, of course, general health. Isolation, which is often a surprising one for people. We often think of loneliness as only being associated with those who live on their own, and perhaps are in later stages of their life and have got less of their friends and family members around them. But actually, we can all feel lonely, no matter what age and stage we are of life, and no matter whether we're surrounded by people all day or we're spending a lot of time in our own space on our own. Isolation, loneliness can happen when we don't feel like we actually have deep bonds of affection and connection to people who care about us, who understand us, and who value us. So we can go all day long and be speaking to people and working and talking to people and still feel lonely, especially in some professions, and indeed in caring professions where a lot of our attention is placed on others, but there isn't somebody else there necessarily to be placing their attention on us. And of course, if we have relationship ruptures or we've got to grieve, we've had an experience of grief, then that can contribute to our experience of burnout. So that's just a gentle overview. There's a lot more to this, and I go into it in a lot more detail on some of the courses that I run, but hopefully this gives you a snapshot. So where does kindness come into this burnout equation? Well, studies show that acts of kindness can help to combat some of the contributing factors that lead towards burnout. Kindness really does have a powerful effect on our well-being, and it can help us to cultivate resilience and a sense of purpose. Many people, when I'm working with them around burnout, have really felt a loss of purpose for some reason or another, and kindness can help to bring that back in. I'll explain why. So there are benefits when we perform acts of kindness to both ourselves as the giver and also, of course, to the receiver. So when you pay for the person the next person in line behind you at the coffee shop's tea or coffee, for example, as a surprise, as a random act of kindness, you feel really good. And when that person discovers that you've paid for their tea and you're not expecting anything in return, and you may have even left the coffee shop, there's not even an exchange of a smile of gratitude or thanks, you might leave the coffee shop just thinking, well, that's nice, it's going to bring a smile to the next person in line today. And sure enough, of course it will. I mean, who wouldn't feel good and have a little sort of spring put back in their step to discover that somebody has been as thoughtful and caring and generous as to gift you a cup of tea or coffee? That's just one small example. Engaging in acts of kindness releases feel-good chemicals in the brain. These chemicals include oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, some of which you may be familiar with. And these chemicals, they reduce stress. So they lower our stress levels and they promote feelings of connection, of belonging, and of happiness. So if you think back to what I said about isolation and loneliness, you can maybe see straight away that there's a direct link here. So if you are maybe spending a lot of time feeling that you don't have connection to others and you're to let someone out in front of you in the traffic when really it was your turn to go, or things like that, they just start to fill you up and you start to feel an exchange with others and building connection, and which the cumulative effect of that can help to counter burnout, just as in the same way that the cumulative effect of stress causes burnout. So it's these little bits that all do matter. So the physical and mental benefits that have been found through studies of kindness are this lowering of stress, as I've suggested, and cortisol levels reduce as the serotonin oxytocin increases. we also get a bit of an energy boost because we start to experience a feeling of surprise, and that smile that we receive. I'm just sort of thinking about the balloon that I've chosen for this slide. It's like that internal smile when you know you've done something that makes someone else feel warm and fuzzy. You just can't help, it's infectious. And most likely that person will then go on and do something else nice for somebody else as well. We actually increase our longevity of life when we do this, because not only do cortisol levels come down, but it improves our blood pressure. So we decrease our blood pressure and improve our general overall health when we're performing random acts of kindness and we're just being kind generally. And we enhance our emotional resilience because we build more and more connections. And you can maybe imagine, okay, these little connections with people we don't know is one thing, but when we're also being kind to people that we have continuous, close connection with, communication with, who are in our lives on a day-to-day basis, that starts to foster community, that starts to deepen bonds of affection. And those relationships, they really start to become more deeply meaningful. So everybody benefits. So in terms of preventing burnout, these acts of kindness can help to boost our positive emotions, reduce stress, and that's has a protective factor about it. It also gives us a sense of purpose when we're helping others. Many of the projects that people like myself as a coach will get involved in aren't paying our bills. We're doing them because they feel good. They keep us inspired. They keep us feeling passionate about what we do. And we get such a buzz out of doing them that we want to give more and do more. And the benefits of that are sending out ripples into society. Many of us will feel like we're here as change makers to make the world a better place. And so there's often a sense of deep purpose that comes when we're being kind. Increased resilience as we build these social connections. We also then build people to lean on when times are tough. Many of us find it hard to ask for help, and we find it hard to ask for help because of what we've been conditioned with as children, but also because we don't actually have relationships where we feel we can ask for help, often from others in many instances. So when we're building and fostering our relationships with others, then when it comes to actually asking for something we need, it becomes that bit easier too. So a really key thing I'd like to communicate is about including yourself in kindness, because quite often, as I've got a suspicion that you're here because you're already probably quite a kind person and you already believe in kindness. One of the things you might struggle with isn't about random acts of kindness. You might be sitting there thinking, well, yeah, I do all those things all the time, and it's nice to know that they're good for me, but maybe I actually do too much of them. Well, maybe you do too much of them, and I'll come on to that, but maybe you forget yourself in the equation. So maybe you forget to do the nice things for you. You're maybe very good at pressing pause and listening to others, but do you ever press pause and listen to yourself? Take a moment to look out of the window and appreciate the beauty outside and allow yourself to be replenished by that? Or are you so busy rushing around to do things for others that you forget to enjoy the journey and to take in the joy of life for you? So I want to speak a little bit more to this, because also too much of a good thing can be bad for us. So if we don't set boundaries with how much we overextend of ourselves, that can lead to compassion fatigue, can lead to overcaring, and can actually result in burnout, ironically. So caring too much without our own self-care can create an emotional drain. I've included marshmallows on this slide because there's a model that I love using called functional fluency. And as part of that model that was developed by Susanna Temple, I have confused her name there with Boss Baby. I've got two young children and they love Boss Baby. And there's a Templeton in that series. I always confuse with Susanna. Sorry, Susanna. So Susanna talks about marshmallowing and how we can sometimes actually even kind of kill people with kindness. So we have to be careful. And she equates it to the concept of marshmallows. So if we offer somebody a marshmallow, presuming they like marshmallows, they're really going to enjoy eating that marshmallow. That very first marshmallow is going to taste really good. They might enjoy it so much that they'll quite happily have a second marshmallow, and they'll enjoy that second marshmallow just as much almost as the first, if not maybe even more. Then if we offer them a third marshmallow, they might be thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure that I actually would need a third or want a third. I've kind of got my fill of sweet stuff now. No, thank you very much. But if we were to really insist and go on, have another one, and then they feel a bit bad, like, oh, okay, you've gone to the effort of getting me these marshmallows. Okay, I'll have a third one. But then they start to feel a bit sick because they've really started to have too many marshmallows. And you can imagine maybe if they were force feeding them more and more, oh, okay, I've had enough of the marshmallows. So that's the concept of marshmallowing. So we have to be careful that we're not marshmallowing others, and we have to be careful that we're not over giving of ourselves. So if you're giving someone else a marshmallow, allow yourself to have one and then leave it at that. Don't overdo it. So what is self-kindness? If we are giving ourselves a marshmallow now and then, what shape or form might that take in real life? Well, it might be about breaks. It might be about actually having the confidence and being courageous enough to say no. Many of us will feel like we can't say no because we feel guilty if we say no. We've been conditioned not to say no. We've been conditioned to only say yes and accept things onto our plate rather than to go hand back and say, actually, I haven't got capacity for this at the moment. Admitting that we don't have capacity for many of us triggers something about not coping, triggers something about being perceived as being weak. And so there's lots of things that can be sitting under the surface. And these are the sorts of things that I go into when I work with people one-to-one as a coach or on my retreats. So being kind to yourself might actually mean that you need to overcome old conditioned beliefs in order to be able to prioritize your own well-being. And if you do that, you then can more sustainably offer kindness to others without burning out in the process. So it's really important that we replenish ourselves and that we're able to continue being kind, because in our acts of kindness, we inspire others, we inspire them to be kind too, but we inspire them even more when they see us looking after ourselves. So if you can role model self-care and kindness, you show people how that's possible, and that makes for a better world all around. So some top tips I'd like to leave you with. The Smarties is following on with the thread of the marshmallows. So it's all about balance. If you're going to be sharing your candies with others, make sure you leave enough for yourself. Pause and ask, do I have time and energy enough for this before you overcommit and jump into things? Be kind in your thoughts, your words, and your actions towards others and yourself. I'm wondering what your inner critic sounds like. I'm wondering what your self-talk is like. When I'm working with people with burnout as the topic, very often they're absolutely lovely to everyone around them, and they are a slave driver to themselves. And they talk to themselves as if they're the boss from Devil Wears Prada or something. So being kind in the way you relate to yourself. How do you talk to yourself internally? And finally, build self-care back in. Schedule time for you. It's really important. Put it in your calendar and honor it as if it's an important meeting that you've got with your boss or some doctor's appointment you've been waiting for a long time. You wouldn't miss those things, right? So put in your time to sit with a tree, your time to have a bubble bath, your time to go for a relaxing walk with the dog, your time to do whatever the thing is that replenishes you, and make sure that it happens for you. It's so important, especially in this run up to the Christmas period that we're now entering. You know, the holidays are coming, and often we get to that stage and we're absolutely fit for nothing. Maybe this year could be the year that you get to the holidays and you've got stuff left in your tank to share. You've got the energy to be able to sit with others and have fun versus feeling like you need to go to bed and collapse. So to wrap up, kindness is not just an outward action, it's a sustainable practice that starts from within. Kindness isn't about doing everything for everyone, it's about meaningful, mindful connection with others and with yourself. When we include others, or rather include ourselves in the kindness that we extend to others, we help to prevent burnout and we keep our capacity to offer kindness to others alive. So I'd love to close by asking you what you're taking away that's going to make the biggest difference in your life in relation to kindness and burnout. And I'd love to hear. Please do share your comments with me. You can find me on LinkedIn as Jane Morris MCC. That's Jayne Morris Morris. M for mother, C for Charlie, C for Charlie, or Jane Morris Consulting if you want to follow that link. You can email me at jane@balancology.uk or find me on the website balancology.uk. I look forward to connecting and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of World Kindness Day. Bye bye.